sometimes it's just out of your control, man. You could do all the right things, and it's just out of your control. What is happening? It is Eli, host of the Sell the Truth podcast. I'm here with the one and only Mikey Saps from the Pavement Group. What's shaking, Mikey Saps?
Appreciate it. Appreciate having me on, man. It's going good. Good week so far.
Yeah.
So a lot of time left. Yeah, this morning. Got a little one this morning. So yeah, it's looking good.
Dude, I love it. I'm really excited to dive into this one, and there's a reason I brought Mikey Saps from our team. Mikey Saps is he's one of the top performers on our team here at the Pavement Group. I've had the pleasure of working with you for what now, 8-9 months, something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
And dude, you've been ringing the bell left and right, so I'm really excited to dive into this. I've learned actually quite a few things from you. Probably the biggest thing is just timing, man. Timing. So we'll dive into that in a bit later today, but really excited to dive into this. The topic of this podcast is going to be actually really relevant to a lot of salespeople, I think, right now. It is, selling and being an exceptional salesperson in uncertainty, in uncertain times. And when I say uncertain times, like what does that mean? Like, what do you think of? Well, I think of election years. I think of recessions. I think of like doom and gloom, right? And you can still be, one, an exceptional company, and two, an exceptional salesperson in these in uncertain times like that. And I'm not saying right now is a completely uncertain time, but if you didn't know, it is an election year, right? And so, sometimes we see clients that are pushing out budgets or just waiting on projects or things of that nature. So how do we navigate that? Well, I've got really 4 steps that I've been sharing with everyone on my team since really the beginning of this year, knowing that it's an election year, and we've been following, and we're going to share those 4 steps with you. Just 4 things to keep in mind that'll help you get through this, and on the tail end of an uncertain time, you'll have more work than you could ever even imagine, right? So, a little bit about Saps. You want to do a little intro of yourself real quick, a little background?
Yeah. So I was in the commercial roofing industry for about 10, 12 years. Went great, and just kind of was looking for a change. Jumped into the pavement side. A lot of people in the roofing industry seem to shift to the paving side as well. Either after roofing, before. So it's kind of similar in a sense. I know you think of asphalt and roofing, 2 different, types of work, but I think who you're selling to is almost exactly the same people. So, I mean, once I got some background, you were a big help in the beginning to kind of give me some guidelines of the asphalt industry, kind of how you guys worked. And, I mean, to this day, I ask you, I don't understand something or what something means. But yeah, it's been a smooth transition. It went well, and things are looking good right now.
Crushing it, dude. You're crushing it.
Appreciate it.
In the roofing industry, have you experienced uncertainty on certain periods where the economy felt a little shaky?
Oh, for sure. I mean, obviously, the COVID was just, that was haywire. I mean, and when it came, no one knew what to do. Everyone put on pause. I mean, there was no movement whatsoever. So that was unique. I don't think anyone obviously saw that coming, or you kind of just adapted why that was happening. But yeah, going back probably 10, 15 years, it does seem like every presidential election year, there's some ups and downs. I'm definitely not the type of person to blame any, shortcomings on the economy or presidential elections. I kind of take more accountability, but judging by history and just being in sales for all those years, it happens. It happens, and it's like there's a pattern. So yeah, it's just being prepared for it and just trying to switch up some small things. I don't think you're, reinventing the wheel. You're just making some different adjustments and approaching different clients different ways. Just minor stuff.
Yeah, I think the first key thing that you just said there is you like you try not to let the economy and all of this noise of everything really dictate your results, right? It's like that's honestly it's like a uh, mindset shift. I could
For sure. Yeah, no.
right? It's like you have to switch that in your mind and like, dude, like you can again, like I've got 4 things here that we're gonna go through that I've been going through every single week with which every single person on our team. If you follow these 4 things and if you maintain and continue to be consistent and show up for people, it's like, dude, you're gonna win. You're gonna win regardless if the economy is going crazy, regardless of if it's an election year, if there's a whole bunch of noise. So I think that's a huge piece of it, right? It's like that shift of like, listen, I create my own luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the end, I mean, whether they do the project this year or next year or it gets pushed off, somebody's getting that work eventually, So I'd take it as, competitors are going through the same thing. So it's just how do you position yourself to be in the best position to win the work or win a portion of the work, when it comes. So yeah, definitely no excuses, but there's some ups and downs.
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say is, it really ensuring that you're asking the right questions on the front end. So you have an opportunity, you're a salesperson, you have an opportunity, let's say it's a big paving project, big roofing project, whatever. Ensuring that you ask the right questions to figure out like if the scope that you're actually presenting fits within their budget, fits within what they need, fits within their long-term play, or whether it's a short-term play of what they need, right? Like asking the right questions to figure out, in what I'm submitting to the customer right now, is this a good solution for their problem? And I feel like when, even just post 2020, right? 2021 to 2022 was nuts. People, they did not care at all. They just said, if you can get my work done, it's yours, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you saw that in the roofing world. And so, like, salespeople get fat and lazy, right? They get fat and lazy with what they're doing. They don't follow up. They don't get great pricing. And they really just kind of throw shit at the wall and hope that it sticks. And so, asking the right questions to figure out what it is that you're actually presenting and does that actually fit within the client's needs and what they're looking for. Because you could submit a $500,000 bid to somebody, and in reality, if they're like, listen, I'm only looking for a short-term repair, and you don't ask those questions and you don't follow up on it, it's gone, right? And those opportunities, like you have to treat them like it's your only and last opportunity. When things do feel a little, quote unquote shaky. Right. So I would like to ask you, what are some of the questions in the paving industry? What are some of the questions that you ask on the front end, before you even are even looking at a job? Let's say you just get an opportunity. What are some of the questions that you ask?
Yeah. So, I mean, as a salesperson, questions are huge. That's the whole, what's that guy's name from Wolf of Wall Street? Sell me this pen.
Yeah.
What do? You start asking questions. You see what their likes and budgets and whatnot. So budgets, obviously, a great question to ask. Sometimes though, I feel like the customer just wants to kind of get a feel, for also what you recommend. And the big thing with the questions is, the more questions you ask, the less time of your own that you waste. I mean, I could go out to a site, inspect the parking lot with no questions asked, give them something, what I recommend, hold mill and pave, or tearing everything up, like, it's pretty close. And he comes back and be like, look, there's no way I have a tenth of this money, So I just wasted all my time. Now I got to go back out, kind of see what his areas of concern, where he wants to spend his money, and doing more like a spot repair, So I think questions are big, for not wasting your own time, not wasting their time. That's just going to make everything more efficient. It's going to show the client that you actually care about the project. How many times if how our business is set up, is, you talk with a contractor and they don't ask you any questions. And
I'm a little nervous if they,
yeah, you're like, well, he's just gonna, just throw something at the wall, like you said, and then you end 9 times out of 10, you end up circling back with them, and it's just so much more extra time. So I think the budget questions, kind of what their main areas of concern is, like, what do you want to focus on? Do you want to focus on the rear lot this year? You want to focus on all the lots? Or you're just worried about the drive lanes? Like, what's important to you? What's important to your business? And that really kind of sets up the trust factor, I feel like, and goes a long way.
Yeah, a good question too is like, hey, like, what is the overall goal of the portfolio, or what's the overall goal of this property, right? It's like that question unveils a lot, right? If they're like, listen, I just want to get by for the next 5 years, I want to make it look nice, I want to sell it in the next couple of years. It's like, all right, well, let's come up with a solution for that. Now if they're like, listen, I'm holding this thing indefinitely, I want to make it spick and span, I don't want to touch it for 5 years, 6 years after you've paved it. Perfect. All right, we'll put together a scope for that as well. So that's one of my favorite questions is like, hey, like, what is your overall goal here?
Yeah.
And unlocking that, now you can start asking the budget questions, right? Now you can start asking all these other questions that bolt onto that. But really, the point I'm trying to get across here is the first step here is like just really ensuring that you are submitting a good scope that fits within your client's needs. And the second thing I'll go on to here is ensuring that your pricing is accurate and good, right? And it doesn't, like, whenever we talk about pricing, like, you can always talk with any salesperson in the construction industry, and if they're at a good company, oftentimes you hear like, oh yeah, we're just more expensive because we're the best. And it's like, well, let's dive into that a little bit, right? Like you can't really just say you're the best because and you're the most expensive.
Your prices are high.
Yeah. Like, that's not a valid reason. Like, you have to prove that. And so I'm not saying that you should slash your margins or anything like that, but just understand, if you have good pricing, a good material pricing, maybe you can go back and, call a couple different material suppliers in the area. For us, we do subcontracts. So, we've got a network of contractors we work with. Like, we're calling a handful of contractors to verify the pricing, not because we want to go behind anyone's back, but like, listen, we need to verify these prices for the sake of our clients to ensure that what we are submitting is an accurate price. I've got one contractor telling me that asphalt's $95 a ton. I've got another contractor telling me it's $80. Right? That's a big difference when you're doing a large paving project. That could be a swing of thousands and thousands of dollars. And so, just ensuring that we do have accurate pricing is one of the best things you can do as well, in addition to ensuring that your scopes are accurate in this industry. And for us, I would just encourage, if our sales team is listening to this right now, I would encourage you guys to definitely double check, triple check, quadruple check your pricing, make sure it's in line with where it needs to be. Because ultimately, if you're not, you're doing your client a disservice, right? And so, anyone that's listening, just double check, triple check your pricing, make sure it's good. The third thing I'll say here to get through a shaky time is keeping your pipeline full. Let's talk about this. Keeping your pipeline full. In our business, we have essentially two separate pipelines, right? One pipeline is kind of our prospects, folks that we want to do business with. The other pipeline are the physical projects with existing customers, maybe new customers that are, giving us an opportunity. And so I want to talk about this with you because you have a full pipeline. Part of the reason I wanted to bring you onto this podcast, you've got a great pipeline of all kinds of prospects, folks that you've started conversations with, and you've got a full pipeline of all kinds of projects that you have verbals on. You're just waiting for them to go, and you're like, all right, it's taking a little bit longer, but I've got such a full pipeline, things are shaking out all right for you, right? So let's talk about it. Keeping your pipeline full. What are some of the, I guess, first of all, is this something that you noticed before this year even started? Like, is it just something that you just do naturally?
Yeah, naturally, I like to have it's easier said than done. The more opportunity you have, the math, it just shakes out. So yes, I strive to always circulate that daily prospecting in, or touching on existing prospects that I've been working on, just to keep the flow. Like I like to have a nice blend, and not focus all my time just on one thing, because you know as well as I do, how long does it take to really start a prospect from nothing to maybe an award. That you're looking, could be up to a year. I mean, at least, yeah, you might not even get a chance or something to bid on for 3 to 6 months just by talk. Because again, the timing comes into play. It's all when you're touching them, see what type of the time of the year it is, if they're working on budgets. So I mean, it's always good to have that blend, and yeah, I mean, I stay humble, and that's one of the big things. Like there's so many times where you'd be working on a deal, you're like, man, this is ours. I know we're gonna get it. Month down the road, you get a call, like, we're not doing the project anymore. We totally pulled funding.
I just want to make a quick note. If you're a salesperson, that's been in sales for longer than a couple months, this has probably happened to you. It's happened to me. And seriously, most salespeople, they get a big opportunity. They have good conversations. They think it's, a home run. They've got it. Like, man, this is a good project. I'm going to mark it as a 9 out of 10. It's coming in the next 30 days. And then all of a sudden, this, by the way, this happened to me. This happened to me last year on a very big one that I thought I was getting. All of a sudden, the client calls and goes, yeah, I got a cheaper price, or I got, whatever. Like, yeah, we're not going to do it anymore. I'm like, okay. Let me ask a few more questions. But I'm like, dude, like, that's why we keep our pipeline full, because that happens. And sometimes it's just out of your control, man. You could do all the right things, and it's just out of your control, right?
100%. I mean, I had 2 weeks ago, I thought, it was a pretty good large deal. And I mean, pricing looked good. And apparently they had another contractor that already signed an agreement way back, weren't happy. But I guess their legal team informed them that they couldn't, it would take too much to remove them to get us in. And I thought that one was, good as gold. And there it goes, just right out the door. So
out of your control.
That's, I did everything I could.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's why I don't focus on just one deal. There's big opportunities that come in, good clients that could really work out in the end. But it's just always have it in your mind, just it's not a sure thing. So just keep finding the new person, the next person, and just keeping all those relationships, keep touching, because, I mean, the sad part is you might have good customers or, people that you think they remember you. Well, you got to remember they're talking to a lot of other vendors. I mean, I've had people where I'd call them up and they're like, oh yeah, I do have a paving project I just sent out for bid. I'd be like, man, I talk to you like once every 3 months. Like, why didn't you call me? And it was just timing and me checking in. Like, it's you got to stay humble and just keep making those touches and just keep circulating and just kind of spread it out and just keep creating new opportunities, because stuff's gonna fall off the back, and you got to have something to replace it, and you never want to be in the position where you're desperate.
And by the way, we're talking about uncertainty times, right? Or uncertain times, right? So, if, let's say, a customer pulls back on their budgets, which it happens, right? Especially in uncertain times, every once in a while, you've got a customer that's like, hey, we're not going to spend as much. We're going to spend half of what we had, or a fifth of what we had. And you're like, ooh, I was really counting on them to do a couple $1,000,000 this year. And I'm like, I don't even see, half of that or less. So, maintaining a full pipeline is really the key to this all, because now you have all the opportunity to tap into. And by the way, I just want to add this on the back side of that. Once you get through that year, that period of time where it feels uncertain, now you have double the amount of client, right? You have double the amount of opportunity, mm-hmm. and you can continue to build on it. So that's why, like, when people look at these times in the economy that like don't seem great or they seem a little shaky, it's like, dude, there's a lot of opportunity. If you take advantage of it and you double down on it, there's a lot of opportunity that can come up on the backside of that. So keep your pipeline full. I love it, bro.
For sure.
So the last point that I want to make here that I've really been, spreading with our team here is follow up. So follow up is big, and when I say follow up, I mean follow up with prospects, follow up on opportunities, on deals, on proposals. And I'm not saying, hey John, I want to just follow up on that proposal. No. We're not we're not doing that kind of follow up. In sales, that's the F word. We're not doing that kind of follow up. We're talking being unique. We're talking setting the agreed upon direction. We're talking being funny. We're talking sending meat, like all these things. But the important piece of this is just follow up, because over the past, again, I go back to 2021, 2022. There's so much work out there. I feel like a lot of salespeople, they get fat and happy. They submit the proposal and they just keep getting all these opportunities. They just keep submitting them, throwing shit at the wall, and sometimes it just sticks, and then their sales numbers look great for the year, and they're like, it's good, right? But once you hit a period of shakiness, right, those people get weeded out. Those people that are fat, lazy, happy, whatever, they get weeded out of the process because folks like you and me and the rest of our sales team, and hopefully the people listening, are continually following up on their proposals, on their prospects, etc. So let's talk about following up. What are some of the ways that you like to follow up with folks? Some of the creative ways that you like to follow up with people?
Yeah, I mean, if you get to like a texting level with a client, I feel like that's the one of the most like more personable levels of communication. I know it doesn't sound, nothing beats a phone call, but I feel like texting, if they're comfortable texting you and conversating with you, and then even spread that conversation, like you said, outside of work. Don't just focus on the proposal. Maybe take some mental notes of things they might have mentioned in the past, what they were doing and things like that. So text message, definitely, I feel like, as odd as it sounds, I feel like it's a little more personable.
I would say when I get on a texting level with somebody, like I feel like I
feel good.
Like I feel good.
You feel
and I feel like they're
comfortable.
As long as they're comfortable with it, I'm like, dude, I enjoy texting people. I think it's great.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Share photos of vacations and all sorts of stuff, right? Like whatever you have a mutual interest in.
Yep. Yeah, or maybe on a project you just completed for somebody else, and maybe it relates to their project somehow. And then I feel like that's a good level. Obviously, phone calls, conversations is probably king. Some people don't like talking on the phone. Some people only communicate through email. I'll call them, text them, and they'll respond with an email. And I get it. Once you start gauging that, you'll see how they're comfortable. But yeah, it's kind of on my whiteboard. Every time I touch a prospect or follow up, I put a little date, because then I know, like, hey, I reached out to him on this date. So, obviously you don't want to be that annoying guy to keep following up. And then, again, you don't want to sound desperate following up too many times. But doing it enough just to stay relevant and let them know that, hey, like, I want to earn your business. We could be right there in price with another competitor, and he may be the guy you were talking about that just toss him a bid and never call back. Like, who are you going to call? The guy that's wants the work, or the guy that you haven't heard from? It's kind of easy choice there. So
100%. So I'll say with following up too, agreed upon direction is a big thing that so Todd Gorell on our team taught me this early on, and I've really been using it when sourcing jobs to contractors. Before I even got into sales, I used it, and I didn't even realize I was using it. So what does agreed upon direction look like? Well, let's say you're my customer, Saps, and I have a conversation with you. By the end of that conversation, I should know, and you should know, and we should agree upon when we're going to be speaking next and really what it's going to be about. So what does that sound like? Well, I'm talking to you like, hey, Saps, is it cool if I just give you a shout? I know you said it's going to be a couple weeks till you guys move forward on this project or make a decision. So cool if I give you a shout on Wednesday, the 25th, just to make sure that you don't have any questions and that everything's good to go. You're probably going to say, well, yeah, like I'm literally here to help you, right? I'm a salesperson who is consultative, is relationship driven, and by this time they should, have gone through the sales process. They should feel that, and so they should feel that, like, listen, I'm here to help you. I'm genuinely here to help you, and so they're going to agree to that. Or they're going to say, why don't you do the 30th? All right, perfect. 30th sounds great. I'll give you a shout then, put it in my calendar. And so now you guys have an agreed upon date, agreed upon direction, when you're going to speak next, what you're going to speak about. And dude, it's worked wonders for me. And I actually used this before I was even in sales. When I was sourcing jobs to contractors, I would set a time, or really a time and day that I would call them and follow up with them and say, hey, just want to make sure you got out on site, make sure you, do you have any questions about the project that you're looking at for us? Is it cool if I give you a shout XYZ date after you look at it? And, now I don't feel like a pest at all. Like that's one of the salespeople's biggest issues is feeling like a pest, right? Like I don't want to feel like,
sure.
I don't want to call them feel like a pest. Well, if you feel like a pest, you probably are, right? So how do you fix that? Well, you make it entertaining, you make it educational. You set agreed upon direction so that there's this, mutually agreed upon direction, right? That's literally what it is. So do you set agreed upon direction?
I honestly, I'm so thankful you kind of brought that up on our one-on-ones and kind of keep pushing that into my mind, because I will admit, and I'm not above, I admit my faults.
Sure.
That's something I continue to work on, and it works 100%.
Game changer.
I should probably just put it on a sign and just put it in front of my computer off to the side, because, like you said, it works for contractors, and it really works for those customers in our industry nationwide. That have multible properties. It's kind of
they're busy, right? Like
they're busy.
I always say these customers, they're busy, man. They have they have roofing, they have asphalt parking lots, they have landscaping, they have interior stuff. If it's a restaurant, they've got all the restaurant stuff. Like they've got 20 different trades, like a bunch that I can't even think of right now, that they need to work on. So they've got hundreds of vendors probably, and maybe you have a good relationship with them, maybe not. Like, dude, just set the agreed upon direction. It's so beneficial.
Honestly, 9 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, sure. Yeah, give me a call in a month or a couple weeks or so. Feel free to keep driving that into my head. Because, it honestly, it works, and I need to think about it every time I'm on a phone call. It just slips my mind. So, still something I'm working on, but definitely key.
Yeah, it's key, man. And last thing to follow up to is if you continue to follow up, this actually happened just a couple weeks ago. One of the women on our team here, she had a $300,000 job, and it ended up being a $10,000 job by the time she was done with it, because the customer came back and said, hey, we don't have the funds to do a $300,000 job this year, but we want to do something. We got to make it safe for them just for this year. Probably revisit it next year. For her, she's like, oh man, I feel so bummed to miss out on the big opportunity. It's like, no, you did everything perfectly. So now next year, you're going to have the opportunity. Not only you're still capturing a little bit of revenue from a sales standpoint, right? It's great. But now you're going to have the opportunity to be their first and last look on that $300,000 job. Maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2 years from now. But the more that you can build that, the more that you follow up with people, the more that you get those opportunities. If she didn't follow up, you know what would have happened? We probably would have gone to somebody else. She would have never known. She would have followed up. They said, we're not doing it this year. Gave it to somebody else.
Yeah, and once she knocks that, repair scope of work out of the park, then she's gained trust, and who knows what other opportunities that clients. I mean, it sounds like a small win, but like you said, it's going to go a long way. It just you might not see the benefits right away. But yeah, and what if she booked a repair that was $100,000, and then you get the 300 next year? So now you got 2 projects into one location. So in the long run,
you're building a relationship,
you're building a relationship. Yeah. So couldn't agree more.
Exactly. So just to recap these 4 steps here, ensuring great scopes for your customers, ensuring that they're the right scopes, right? That's kind of the first step. Second step, ensuring that we are delivering on the pricing, the best pricing that we possibly can for these customers. Fourth step, keep your pipeline full. Or third step, keep your pipeline full. Ensure that you have not only projects but also prospects in your pipeline that are ready to go. And then the last and final step is just follow up, man. Follow up on those proposals, follow up with those prospects. If you do these 4 things, I can guarantee you that on the back end of whatever, you call it a lull year, you call it a, election year, recession, whatever you want to call it, if it is any of those, right? Just a year with a little bit of shakiness, right? You will absolutely come out on the other side of that with so much more opportunity than you ever could have even started with, and you're going to get through that with, you're going to meet your sales goals and probably exceed them if you continue to do these things. You'll be an exceptional salesperson. I can say that firsthand. I think you can too.
Couldn't agree more.
So, with that, reach out if you have any questions on any of this stuff. Feel free to reach out to myself. But this is the Sell the Truth podcast on the One Team Media channel, also broadcasted by the Pavement Group. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we will talk soon. Peace.